Alien Romulus is upon us, my friends. We have a lot to unpack, so let's get to it. Yesterday, director Fede Alvarez took to social media to offer up a tease for what was awaiting. White text on a black background, all caps, tomorrow, with an ellipsis. But already we found we were in for some surprises because it wasn't just a black background. If you heightened the exposure on this post, you'd actually see an image of an alien, which I think was a nice touch. And today, we got our first look at the upcoming latest entry in the Alien series, Alien Romulus. A poster was revealed, a press release about the film was posted, and of course, there was a teaser trailer. Just over a minute, just some brief glimpses of what's in store, very true to the nature of a teaser. But it definitely gives us an idea of what we'll be getting with this new movie. The Hollywood Reporter included the press release along with an interview with Alvarez with some new information. We were previously aware that Ridley Scott gave his blessing to Alvarez's vision, but apparently James Cameron has seen it as well and has also approved. Here's what Alvarez had to say. James Cameron is also someone I've met through the years, and when he learned that I was doing it, we started chatting about it. So I also had that conversation with him at the script level. He's now seen the movie and loved it. It's also fascinating because Cameron and Scott's notes and comments are completely different. They wouldn't repeat a note. Whatever Ridley said, Cameron said something different. They were all super smart comments, notes, and thoughts on the film and the filmmaking, etc., but both of them have completely different approaches. Oh, to be a fly on the wall during those conversations. Also from the article, we get the synopsis and the reasoning behind the choosing of this particular cast. The story focuses on a group of 20-something space colonizers and scavengers who have the misfortune of meeting a xenomorph inside a dilapidated space station. The film has a notably young cast that's led by Kaylee Spany, Isabella Merced, as well as David Johnson, Archie Renault, Spike Fern, and Aileen Wu. Alvarez says the idea to follow younger people in this world came from an Aliens deleted scene that Cameron eventually restored in his extended special edition cut. There's a moment where you see a bunch of kids running and riding a big wheel around the corridors of this colony. And I thought, wow, what would it be like for those kids to grow up in a colony that still needs another 50 years to terraform? Alvarez tells The Hollywood Reporter. So I remember thinking, if I ever tell a story in that world, I would definitely be interested in those kids when they reach their early 20s. As much as the Uruguayan filmmaker was trying to capture the spirit of Scott and Cameron's franchise-launching films, he still tied Romulus to the entire series. I love all those movies. I didn't want to omit or ignore any of them when it comes to connections at a story level, character level, technology level, and creature level. There's always connections from Alien to Alien Covenant, Alvarez says. He also spoke to Variety and explained further his conversations with Scott and Cameron and his own contribution to the series. In every movie, I think, okay, this is the one where I finally got to sit down and just point at shit. It doesn't happen. The movies get bigger and I'm still there on the floor getting my hands dirty. And that's really what Ridley and Cameron told me. The only way to make this movie is you have to be involved at every level. These are very handmade movies from their directors, that's why they're so unique. This is not a studio movie where you come in, do your thing, and there's a machine going on that knows how to do them. I really wanted to go back to the sheer horror of the first film, and to take those elements of thriller that Aliens has, and Alien 3 has as well. We went to crazy extents to keep it pure to the filmmaking techniques of the first movie. But if anybody's worried, is it going to be too retro? Don't worry, 2023 will pour through every window. There's no way to stop the modernity of filmmaking. And from that combination of the best of the classics and the best of today, then you have something new. I'm really excited to see what Alvarez brings to the series. If you've been following this channel for long enough, I'm sure it's no secret that I'm a big admirer of Prometheus and Alien Covenant and the way Ridley Scott returned to the series. That being said, one of the biggest appeals of the series as a whole has always been seeing what different directors can do each time with this world and with this creature. Previously I talked about some leaked plot details on Romulus and pondered if it would connect to Scott's prequel films. Based on what Alvarez has said in these interviews, it seems like they'll at least somewhat have a link. So for me, that's kind of like getting the best of both worlds. The retention of what Scott set up in Prometheus and Covenant, but also a fresh vision from a new director. Alvarez has proven to be masterful with gruesome effects in The Evil Dead, and edge-of-your-seat tension with Don't Breathe, and from this teaser trailer, I'm already getting the sense that he's definitely honed in those two aspects to create his Alien film. The leaked plot details mentioned an abandoned space station being discovered, and now that the official synopsis has been released, we can confirm that. We of course see it in the teaser trailer. In another Alvarez interview released today with The Movie Podcast, he revealed the name of this station. Most of the story takes place in this space station known as the Renaissance Station, and it's made of two models. One is older than the other one. One is called Remus, which is more from the world of Alien, which is older, where the technology is more advanced than that, and the other one is called Romulus, which is brand new. In a way. By the time they find it, it's abandoned already, but the technology is way more recent, so it looks like the stuff you're going to encounter in Aliens. The camera pulls back through the corridors, dark and scary in true Alien fashion, revealing a pod that looks to be the scene of a terrible event. Throughout, we hear a familiar, eerie music that was first presented in the trailer for the 1979 film, amongst screams of terror and desperate pleas. We also hear the word, run. Now, you may recall there was a news item not too long ago where the actress Isabella Merced talked about a really gruesome scene in the film that she watched with some other cast members. Apparently, everyone turned away in disgust when watching it on an iPad, except for her, and it seems like this may be a brief glimpse of this scene. According to Alvarez's interview with The Hollywood Reporter, this is the case. There's a tiny hint in there, and it has to do with that scene that Isabella talked about, which is great. When you manage to have an idea or concept that has not been seen before in any Alien movie, and it's also something that has never happened before in the history of movies and science fiction, my first test usually when I shoot is to just look at the boom mic guy. He has no idea what's about to happen, and then I see his face completely in shock over what he's witnessing. So that is, for me, the biggest reward, and when you know that there's something special, then you just can't wait for opening night. I'll sit in the front and turn around to see people's reactions to those moments. The teaser also includes what is sure to be a chaotic moment where a whole bunch of facehuggers are let loose on this station. Nothing can hold these little fuckers back. They're crashing through glass like nothing and leaping at their victim. In another shot, unfortunately for Aileen Wu, it looks like they found one. There is another shot in the trailer, if it is connected to this scene, and if it is Aileen Wu still, it looks like there is an attempt to remove the facehugger before it can fulfill its implantation. You can see a rather large ovipositor being pushed away from the victim's throat. One thing to keep in mind, though. If it is staying true to what Ridley Scott presented in his films, then it is already too late. There's that one scene in Alien Covenant where a facehugger attaches itself to Damien Bashir only for a second, and he's able to cut it off. But as we would learn later, he's already been infested. But who knows, maybe Alvarez won't be following that logic. Either way, I think it has potential to be a very thrilling scene. Just the two facehuggers let loose in a confined space in Aliens was tense enough, but imagine a horde of these things running around a space station. That's something we haven't seen before in an Alien movie. Maybe the closest we got was Alien vs. Predator, but that was really just a quick scene of facehuggers coming right out of the eggs and onto their victims. No chasing or tension or anything like that. And as scary and surprising as something like Kane being facehugged from the first movie was, Aliens introduced the idea of having to evade these things once they're let loose. So I feel that Romulus could extend on that further, with more of them, and it just may end up being one of the film's standout scenes. I guess we'll see how that plays out. We have a character carefully wandering a dark corridor, according to the actress herself, that's Isabella Merced, in a really nice looking shot here. Characters running down a corridor, maybe connected to the facehugger scene, maybe not. Silhouetted shot of one character from the back, perhaps David Johnson's character. We see him in a following shot. There looks to be an anti-gravity moment, which is kind of cool to think about. That's something we haven't seen in an Alien film before. Isabella Merced again, I believe, looking terrified behind a door. That is something we've seen before. An explosion from where we can assume the salvager's shuttle connects to the station, ensuring most definitely there's no escape. And a definitive shot of what we can assume to be our heroine for the film, Kaylee Spany, in a shot that's quite familiar. Definitely getting Ripley vibes from her, which they always seem to offer up, but I have a good feeling about it this time around. She's holding what seems to be some kind of proto-pulse rifle. This does take place between Alien and Aliens timeline-wise, 20 years after the first film, according to Alvarez, so it would track that this is an earlier version before what we see in the James Cameron film. The teaser ends with a good close-up money shot of an alien, metallic teeth and all. Our favorite iconic film monster is back. Alien Romulus will release August 16th, 2024. The teaser definitely has me excited. I'll say this though, it didn't blow my mind and give me chills the same way the Prometheus teaser trailer did a decade and change ago. I knew seeing that teaser something completely different was on the way, and I couldn't have been anticipating it more. With Romulus, I'm sure there will be twists, but it looks like a fairly safe and familiar territory. From Alvarez's comments, that seems more or less what he was going for. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. Again, I think a big appeal is in seeing new directors and different talents tackling what is essentially the same general concept. Each time around, we've had different spins on it, different styles. Alvarez's style looks great here. The production design and the cinematography looks wonderful, and I'm sure he hardly had a Ridley Scott budget to work with. It also looks like while he pays tribute to that style and to Cameron's, it's uniquely his own. One of the things I actually might be looking forward to most about the movie is just how it ends up looking. As stated in the trailer credits, the production designer is Naman Marshall, who worked previously on films such as The Dark Knight, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and Nightcrawler, a Bill Paxton favorite, by the way. Cinematography was by Galo Olivares, who seems to be up-and-coming, having worked on a fair deal of Spanish-language features and shorts, notably Alfonso Cuarón's Oscar-nominated film Roma. And the editor is Jake Roberts. He worked on Men, the upcoming film Civil War, and was Oscar-nominated for his work on Hell or High Water. Eric Barba, the Oscar winner for The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, is the visual effects supervisor here. In fact, he worked on all of David Fincher's recent films, including The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, Zodiac, Gone Girl, and The Killer. We can't rule out the composer either. Benjamin Wallfish, who composed scores for Lights Out, Hidden Figures, It Chapters 1 and 2, and Blade Runner 2049. So clearly, we have extremely talented people behind this movie. When word first came out about Alien Romulus, I'd say I was cautiously optimistic about it. Now that I've seen the teaser trailer, heard from the director about his approach, I think I can throw caution to the wind at this point. I am optimistic. What can I say? The movie has been made. It exists. It will eventually be released. That is inevitable. It will either be good, or bad, or somewhere in between, and even that will amount to individual opinion. So why not hope for the best? Why actively look for reasons why you could potentially dislike it at this point? I never understood that. I think just based on the information I have, there's reason to believe we'll get a good movie. 20th Century Studios proved they could do something new and exciting with the Predator franchise. I really liked Prey, which was a straight-to-streaming film. Alien Romulus was supposed to be straight to streaming, but fairly early on they said, in Alvarez's words, "Fuck it, let's release it theatrically." That's a good sign. Alvarez's past films are a good sign. The talent behind the scenes is a good sign. So I'm all in. I'm excited. Let's rock. I'll leave with this, another plot tidbit from Alvarez's interview with The Movie Podcast. Here he explains the reasoning behind the title, Alien Romulus, and how it plays into the plot. The creational myth of Rome, which is Romulus and Remus, these two kids that feed from a she-wolf to, in a way, get their powers that would make them who they were, is very related to the story. There's a lot of characters in the movie, a lot of pairs of siblings, either related by blood, related because they're surrogate siblings, they grew up together and love each other as siblings. And it's really a character level where a lot of the themes have to do with that. What it means to truly be a sibling, to be brothers and sisters. Spoiler alert, Romulus killed Remus, by the way. For those that don't know the myth, it didn't go well for those two. As always, I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you're on board with me, let me know. If you think I'm a fool for getting my hopes up, let me know that too. As I'm writing this, the views for the teaser trailer have just passed 1 million views, so there's a good chance you've seen it. Share your thoughts on the trailer in the comments below. And until next time, this is Alien Theory, signing off.